Hi guys, welcome along to the Nail Order YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about etching tips, how to etch them and why it's really important. So do you have nails tips that are popping off prematurely? Then it could be because you are not prepping the inside of the tips enough. So a good way to work out what is happening is if your nails are popping off and the gel is still on the natural nail, that means that you have not prepped the inside of the tips well enough. If the nails are popping off and the gel is not on the natural nail, the problem lies in your prep and between the bond with the natural nail and the gel in between the natural nail and the tip. So we have several ways that we can prep the inside of our tips, and we are going to go in and show you the first way. So the first way we are going to have a look at etching the tips is with our Efile. Now there are various bits that you can use for the Efile, but we recommend the Prep Etcher bit from Lucy Pastorelli, which is available in our kit that we have with her, which is our full cover bit kit, and it will soon be available individually. You can use Nail Order 5 over at lpnails.com to get 5% off your orders as well. So the reason that I recommend this bit over, for instance, a sanding band is that when we are using the sanding band, it can be a bit too big for the smaller tips. So if we look at the sanding band inside, for instance, a size 0 tip, it fits absolutely fine. But if we have a look at the sanding band inside one of the smaller tips, a 10 or 11, we will notice that the sanding band is bigger than the tips, so you are going to damage the sidewalls, okay? So it is much better to use an appropriately sized bit. So you can use various different bits, but as we said, we created this bit with Lucy Pastorelli because it was a perfect shape and size for etching the tips. So I'm going to go in and etch the tips just now. I'm going to use a speed of, you can use a 10 or 11, I'm using 10 today, and we are going to etch in a sort of circular motion, ensuring that we get right up to the sidewalls and all around the cuticle area, and ensuring that we are getting the full area that's going to be in contact with the natural nail while being careful not to damage the sidewalls. Now, if your client had a much longer natural nail bed, you might need to etch further up the tip, or if they have a much shorter one, you might need to not etch quite as high. So now I will show you. Here we have our etch tip, and here we have a non-etch tip, which you can see is still really smooth and shiny, and you can see that our etch tip is really nice and rough. So that was our first method of etching, and now I'm going to show you another method. So for our second method of etching, we are going to use our Xetch product, which is a tip primer. This is not to be used on the natural nails, we use this on the tips. So you can use this inside the tips to prep the tip for application, but you can use it also on top of the tip to prep it for painting if you wanted to go for a completely dust-free method and you weren't going to buff the tips. This is a really great product for press-on nail artists as well. So I'm going to show you now how to use that. So to use the Xetch, first thing I'm going to show you is I've actually trimmed the brush. So you can see that the brush here is a lot shorter than it was. So I've trimmed it by about a third or halfway. And this just gives you a much larger surface area and helps with your etching technique. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to paint the Xetch onto the tip in the area that is going to be in contact with the natural nail. Wipe it a few times and then you will start to feel the consistency change and go sticky. At that point, you're going to start to mash the tip. You're going to mash it like this to create texture, and it's really important again to be very thorough. Ensure you get all around the edges and the sidewalls, as these are the areas that could be more prone to lifting. And you want to keep doing it until you have created that texture all over. It's really important that when we are doing this, we are not just lightly brushing the nail like this or just gently doing that. You want to be quite thorough. Don't worry if you are worried about the brush, because you can see here that the brush looks like it's all completely mangled, but once you put it back into the product and pull it out, it does go back together, like so. So now I'm going to show you the difference between the tip that has been Xetched and our clear tip that hasn't. So you can see here that there's a sort of mottled effect And here is our original one, which has not been etched at all, which is shiny and smooth. But with this tip, you can see that it's mottled and it has a texture to it. That is what we are looking for when we are using our Xetch. So now I'm going to go and show you. So our third method is using our brand new XPrep product. So XPrep is a 2-in-1 primer. To use this, you are going to prep your natural nails as usual. That's a really, really important part of the treatment, and you're going to use a 150 or 180 nail file or your sanding band to prep the nails. And then you are going to go in with this product. Now, when we're using this product, we do not need to use any other primers or dehydrators. You can just go straight in with the XPrep. So I'm just going to use Chris as a model here. And we are going to take his thumb. Now, in full transparency, I have not prepped this nail because he's not actually getting the nail on, but I just want to show you guys how to use it. So remember, you would prep the nail as usual, and that is really, really important. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to brush the XPrep onto the natural nail. Careful not to touch the skin because nail products are not designed to go onto the skin. And then the next thing we are going to do is we are going to take the tip and we are going to wipe the primer in the full area of the tip that's going to be in contact with the natural nail. And then we are going to rub the two together. Now this is important because what it does is it ensures that the tip and the nail are fully covered and there's no areas missing. But what it also does is it helps create a little bit of texture onto the tip. So I'm not sure if the camera will pick this up, but that you might see little sort of striation marks on the tip from where we've rubbed the two together, and it's created a small amount of texture. So that's why I like to do that. Now, once you've done this, you can go straight in with your X gel and apply. There is no further prep that is necessary for the tip at this point. So it really is a revolutionary product that is going to speed up your service. But if you don't have it, as I've shown you, there are multiple ways of prepping. I'm going to show you another hack that you can do to etch the tips. So if you have run out of all those products and you don't use an e-file, here's something else you can do. You're going to take a normal nail file. Here's one I've used previously for this method. And believe it or not, you can actually gently peel the actual file from the core board inside. Now this can be very, very useful for etching the inside of tips. And I will show you how. So if you peel it back gently, cut it off. And then if you take something slim like a cuticle pusher, which I've got here, and if you wrap it around, so you can now see it's wrapped around because it's still sticky from where it was stuck to the board. And then if we take our tip and we etch on the inside like this, again, making sure you're going to get the full area of the tip that is going to be in contact with the natural nail, especially concentrating on the sidewalls and the cuticle area. You'll see that the tip is now etched. So that's a really, really great hack if you do run out of these products. Maybe very slightly more time consuming, but great if you run out and you don't have any other options. So I'm going to show you all of these different methods compared in the next slide. So here we have all of the tips that we have etched. First, we have a non-etched tip, just as an example. You can see that's nice and shiny still. Here we have our tip where we have used our XPrep. You won't be able to see so much of a difference on the camera, but trust us, the product works and it is a miracle. Here we have our tip that we have etched. Then we have the tip that we have used the nail file on. And then lastly, we have the tip that we have used the e-file on. Now, whatever method you use, just ensure that you are very, very thorough. And something else I wanted to talk about was pre-etched tips. Now, even though these tips are pre-etched, we still recommend using one of the 4 methods that I have shown you today. The reason being is that even though they have been etched, you will not get maximum retention if you don't do one of the additional methods as well. We do find that you will get perhaps a week or a little bit more wear without any additional etching, but to get to the 3 or 4 week wear that we are looking for, you will need to do some extra. We released them in the hopes that it would stop you having to do any of the additional etching, but unfortunately that maximum retention is not really possible, especially for beginners. without additional etching. For this reason, we did look at discontinuing them, but people absolutely loved the slightly different structure of the pre-etched tips to the clear tips. So for this reason, we are unable to discontinue them because people would not be happy. Now, everything that I've shown you today is the same for any brand of full cover tips. Whether you're using our full cover tips or somebody else's, you can use any of the 4 shown methods to etch them, and it is something that you will still need to do for maximum retention. So guys, I hope you have learned something today on etching your tips, the importance of doing so, and the different methods as well. If you liked what you've seen today, make sure you like and make sure you subscribe as well, and we hope to bring you some more educational videos soon.